Hi guys, and welcome to the Your Progress is Our Passion podcast with me, Dave, and I'm joined today by a guest I'm super excited to have here. It's Mr. Ben Coomber. If you follow my feed and you don't know who Ben is, I don't know how that's possible because, quite frankly, all of my early content was ripped directly from him until he told me the most wonderful piece of advice a couple of years back, which was be an authority yourself. Not be worried about what everyone else is saying. Say what you want to say, and even if it's something that someone else has said, it doesn't mean that everyone that you speak to is going to hear it. Super empowering advice for me. Ben, I wish I knew the first podcast of his that I heard, because that would be a lovely thing to be able to remember. I just know that it was about 4-ish years ago, and he was one of the big reasons why I got into the fitness industry, transitioning from sound engineering. So if you don't know, he's got a background of overcoming obesity himself. Runs how many companies?
Three.
That would be Body Type Nutrition.
Body Type Nutrition.
Awesome Supplements.
And my own stuff, so Ben Coomber.
Hi Ben.
Hello, thanks for having me on in a room that's a box with gin on the table that we can't drink.
Well, I've got to drive home after this, but
I don't.
I also don't like gin, don't hold it against me.
Okay.
I'm one of those odd people. So basically the run of this show is that we talk about the 4 key areas, which is training, nutrition, mindset and community. Mm-hmm. I think those are all 4 areas that you have an awful lot to say on. Mm-hmm. So I'm basically going to ask you currently, and this can be training for someone who's doing a specific event, or this could be training for someone who just wants to be better in life.
Yep.
If you had to go with your top of mind number 1 tip for training right now, what would that be?
I think training can quite often be overcomplicated by a lot of people, and I think whenever we look at training, the first thing is it's got to be one or two things. It's got to be progressive and goal based, or it's got to be fun and enjoyable. Okay. And this is why both systems have very strong camps associated with them. So let's look at the extreme side of progress and goal based, and we could look at like the bodybuilding side of the industry, where you have got people that are trying to refine their physique, and there's a clear goal and progression associated to applying that system of training. The other side is people that want to be fit, have fun, and feel like it's not a chore to exercise. So you've got people doing Zumba and boxercise and cool stuff like that, and sport as well, playing badminton, playing football, playing hockey, whatever it is. So I think people either need to be in one or the other of the camps, or have a good mix. And at the moment, I think there's probably a lot of people that potentially feel alienated by fitness because fitness has been done or is perceived to be done a certain way. Mm-hmm. Oh, if you want to be fit, you need to go to the gym, or you need to do X because that's potentially our current environment. Well, really, most people exercise to have better health markers, to be fitter, to be leaner, to feel good about their body, to look good naked. And really, if we look at that, we need to do something that largely we enjoy and is sustainable, and then secondly is potentially progressive and leads to an outcome. So I get in the gym, for example, because I know there's going to be an outcome associated to it. I'm going to look better, I'm going to feel better, I'm going to be stronger, but I also can't do the gym all the time. It would crumble my mind, and that's why I play sport. Yeah. So I also go out and I have a bit of fun with the guys, and I play competitively because I like being competitive. If I didn't play rugby, I'd probably find something different, like I might do a bit of CrossFit, or I'd probably do some adventure racing or something like that. So for me, training, just think about what you want to get out of your training, and please match sort of the perfect style of training for you and enjoy it.
Yeah. Awesome. Literally nothing more to add on that. Like, I would always say that, that it's got to be something you can see, that you can sustain. Yeah. And some people can enjoy the progressive training. Other people actually it becomes too progressive for them, mm-hmm. and they stop enjoying it. It becomes too difficult, even though the person themselves is leveling up. Maybe the training levels up a little bit ahead of the person. Mm. So nutrition, I'm sure you've got an absolute ton of things to say on this. You run a year-long course on it. Both of you, well, all of your companies are basically nutrition focused, mm-hmm. supplement company, nutrition education company. Mm-hmm. So it might be hard for you to pick one key thing, but if you had to, the best possible current top of mind thing that you think?
It's probably currently on the top of my mind, but it's probably eat as many fruits and vegetables as you can. Okay. I just don't see anyone that doesn't benefit from that. And if we look at what are in fruit and vegetables, right, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, antioxidants, pre and probiotics, all the good stuff is in fruit and vegetables. And I believe that in life that we should be people that aim to thrive and not just live. And thriving comes from giving food that, you know, has a lot of energy and nutritional density to it. So even if you like 5 different vegetables, eat those vegetables all the time, because it's going to be giving your body so much. I'm a huge fan of making, you know, big dense salads, soups, smoothies, juices, buying a NutriBullet, anything that helps you get more fruit and veg into your diet. I just, on a personal level and with clients, I never see more benefit not come from that.
Yeah.
So get as many in as possible. If you can get 6, 8, 10, 12 portions in, do it. And it's cheap, right? You go to a local greengrocer. I remember when I shopped at a greengrocer when I was at university, because there was like hundreds of them, and you buy 2 massive bags of fruit and veg for like £8.
Mm.
You know, yeah, if you go and shop in Waitrose, you're probably going to get stunned for that. But go down your local greengrocer and it's pretty cheap food produce.
Yeah. A little follow-up to that particular question, because I know when I've given that advice out myself, the first thing I often get is, well, what about all the sugar and fruit? What would be your first thing to say to the people who ask that question?
So as a tangible response to that, kind of like tactically, vegetables would usually be better than fruit because they're generally lower in calorie. Mm-hmm. So when you're on a diet, you want to eat as much food volume as possible per calorie you ingest. That's a good way to look about it. But every carbohydrate will break down into a sugar. Mm-hmm. You eat a sweet potato, you eat a bit of fruit, you eat a bit of spinach. Yes, they all have different volumes of carbohydrates in it, but they'll be broken down the same into simple sugars. So they're not bad. The body runs well off sugars. Obviously, we don't want to take on board artificial sugars, but the sugar in fruit is absolutely fine. Yeah. More than anything, people need to be looking at their overall dietary intake. And the last thing most people need to be doing is demonising a natural food over, you know, some other real basic stuff that they're not doing, like still having 6 pints at the weekend and, you know, on top of a Domino's, etc. Like, we can't be demonising fruit for anything when we've still got those kind of habits in our lifestyles. Yeah,
it does tend to be the people that are just looking for a scapegoat that come up with that particular answer. Okay, so mindset. It's something that on your podcast has become much more of a emergent term, I would say, in the last 18 months, maybe a bit longer, especially since you started working with Stephen H. But a lot of the recent podcasts have been certainly dealing with mindset. What was it that made you decide to go into that area?
Because it just controls everything. It's as simple as that. Like, if you have unhealthy habits, if you have an unhealthy thought process, if you think in a very debilitating way, in a restrictive way, then you're never really going to reach your potential. It's as simple as that. If you, for example, and this is something that's kind of aligned with sort of meditation, if you have the affirmation in your head, and these are very common affirmations. So let me put myself into kind of an average female's head that struggles with their body weight. They might be having thoughts like, I don't like my body, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I can't fit into that dress, or I can't wear that because I'm not slim. You know, there's always this I can't, I'm ugly, I'm fat. If you repeat that stuff to yourself every day, you're going to be a product of your thoughts. It's a very disempowering thought process. So if we can get to a place where we can empower ourselves on multiple levels, and I get that it has to be done from multiple angles, there's not one solution to this problem. It's not like do this and it'll change your mindset. Once you start to create a positive environment and you start to see the results and you start to think differently and you start to say to yourself, actually, I am a confident and able person. Actually, I do love myself. Actually, I am worthy of my own time and other people's time. You start to look at life and behave very differently. You start to take very different actions. You start to see yourself in a totally different way, and you start to value who you are as a person. When you get to that point, only good things can happen. And I like to talk of it in the context of like these YouTube videos that you see. And there's like Muhammad Ali, he's like talking over the video, and there's like some boxing scenes, and it's all motivational. People cringe at that kind of stuff sometimes, but that stuff genuinely works in the respect that That person who wants to be positive, strong, able, successful, wakes up every day and says to themselves, I am strong, positive, confident, able, willing to put in the hard work. Actually, if you repeat that stuff every day, you become a product of your thought process. So we have to invest time in our own brains. And if you invest time in your brain, your body, your nutrition, your career, your relationships will become far better as a byproduct.
Awesome. And finally, on the 4 major topics, community. What role do you think that plays in in producing success or progress?
I think it allows us to identify with some of the character traits and the things that make us human. So I'm part of, a bit of a business community, a bit of a nutrition community. I'm part of my rugby community, and that helps me have focus in my life. It helps me have things that I identify with. I'm not identified by, which is a very different thing. I don't want people to be identified as, for example, in fitness, a lot of people latch on to identities rather than it being part of their identity. Like, I am a CrossFitter.
Yes.
No, you're a person that does CrossFit and you enjoy it. You are not a CrossFitter, because that then you then buy into every part of what is seen as CrossFit, and the chances are you don't buy into all of that. You are your own person. So I think community is important because it gives us purpose, it gives us value. If you take us right back to evolution, we used to live and thrive in communities. Like, people didn't really live in huts by themselves. They lived in a group of 8 huts, and there'd be a guy that grew carrots and a guy that grew potatoes, and you'd share produce and you'd support each other and you'd help with each other's bringing up of children. And we are naturally feel valued in communities. So involve yourself in a community, involve yourself in a great gym, make sure you have a good community in your workplace. If you don't feel valued, then maybe it's time to move on from your workplace and find a different job. But I just think it gives us confidence, strength of character, and gives us purpose when we're involved in anything community related or something that we identify with as people.
Awesome. Okay, a couple of fun questions. You can take these ones in any direction you want to.
Okay.
First one, and this can be in any area of life, what is one piece of advice that people aren't hearing enough of?
Put down your mobile phone. There's so much more. I'm not saying don't be on social media, don't digest information, but there's so many key times in our life that we can do with putting down our phone. Let's say you're at a really memorable concert. It's an amazing concert. Most of the focus of most people is on filming the concerts rather than just enjoying it. At bed, I want people to be in bed at times so they get a good night's sleep. Turn off the phone. Turn off the thing that's distracting you. I just think there's a few things in our life and our environment that we'd be richer if it was not seen through a mobile phone.
I completely agree on that. It's probably one of the few things, I love the work of Gary Vaynerchuk, but it's one of the few things of his that I disagree with, because he talks about that one where the woman who didn't capture the Pope on the video, and everyone's like, she got the right moments, and then his answer is no, she's the only one who didn't capture it. I'm a big fan of being in the moment.
Yeah.
And because you can absorb more. The sounds are different, the feelings, the visuals are different than what a phone can ever play back to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and what's one terrible piece of advice that you think people are hearing too much of?
I don't think there's one advice, but I think there's an awful lot of bad advice in the diet industry and the fitness industry, and I just want people to have a little bit more of a better bullshit radar. When people are arguing in the office of whether something burns fat or whether a particular diet is, going to work better than another diet, just air a little bit of common sense and say, okay, let's look at body weight. How does one person or an individual lose body weight? Well, we eat less than our body consumes on a daily basis via energy expenditure. So, okay, does this diet stimulate that? How does the diet work? Is this diet restrictive? Is the diet sustainable? How does this exercise work that people are talking about, this new class or whatever? All things usually hinge on a couple of mechanisms that the body works on a fundamental level. And I just see so many people going off in mad tangents when it comes to nutrition. And I just want to say, look, let's bring it back down to earth.
Yeah.
What fundamentally works? Eat less, move more, improve your health, sleep better, drink more, think better, have fun with your life, be happy. Like if you followed those 6 or 7 points and had a good bullshit radar, I think people would be in a lot better place.
And drink more, is that water or gin?
Both.
Awesome. Final question is there anything else? Because I've got my 4 key areas that I want to talk about. That's my agenda. Is there anything else that's, any other particular area that you think, one key piece of advice that you just love to pass on to the world?
It's probably just make sure you get a good night's sleep. Just because I think sleep affects everything, how we think, we move, the cravings that we have. If people could just listen to this and go, do you know what, I'm going to get to bed and make sure I do get 7-8 hours a night of sleep, I think that's going to create such a positive amount of action the next day on many levels that it would just benefit so many.
Awesome. And for anyone who doesn't already know, where can we find you on social media?
All over the internet, type in Ben Coomber, COOMBER.com, website, Facebook, Instagram, all over you can find me. I've got the podcast, which is Ben Coomber Radio, but whatever people want to know or find, there's probably a bit of free information out there that would help. Just Google my name.
Yeah. Awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you for taking the time. So yeah, guys, be sure to, if you don't already, go and follow Ben. As he quite often says to his guests, he's a lot more intelligent a man than I am.
It's very true.
Usually his guests are more humble than that. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this, then I'd ask that you pass it on, share it, get it around to people, because a lot of what Ben has got to say is really, really valuable. Get in touch with him through Twitter, as you preferred. Is it for chatting? You say, or
just whatever. I don't mind.
So get in touch with him through your preferred method of social media. He's a very generous man with his time on social media, as I have found over the years. And yeah, pass this podcast on, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the damn thing. Thanks, guys, and I will see you next time. And one final tip, if you need help with the whole getting more sleep, as Ben suggested, I will do some solo podcasts where my soothing voice will gently caress you off to bed. Ciao for now, guys, and I'll see you soon.